My name is Joaquin Farias. I've been dealing with symptoms of dystonia since I remember. The first time that I experienced something that I was not able to understand was when I was 6. My mother took me to the doctor because I was complaining about not being able to focus. And then the doctor said that was fine. So that was the first symptom, but nobody spotted. So sometimes my vision got blurred and was coming back and forth. And most of the times when I was feeling stress. So, but nobody connected the dots at that time. Later in life, it was difficult for me to run or to walk fast because I was having spasms in the legs. I was just thinking that was me. That was the way I was, and that was genetics. I lost my hair when I was very young. I was always very anxious. Everything took me to my heart too deep. And I was extremely sensitive. I had problems with my digestion. My intestine was not working well, but everything, was going well. And in my 20s is when I started having more intense crises. At that time, I was studying music, and I was a pianist. And then my both arms started dysregulating. It was difficult to relax the muscles when I contracted them. So that put me in a situation that was building up more and more tension until I was completely locked. It took me 2 rough years to get back to playing again. I needed to reinvent myself. I needed to create lots of different exercises. At that time, nobody knew what was going on. They thought that was just, I was nervous, was something psychological. So I needed to find ways to calm down my body, my mind, and to be able to find the balance that I lost. That was a broken balance that I needed to restore. So I was happy because after 2 years of intense work, 9 hours a day trying to recover the function of my hands, I was able to get to a state of being asymptomatic. And I stayed there for more than 20 years. Yes, after I recovered, I signed up. I enrolled in a doctorate program, and I wrote my doctoral thesis on recovering the motor control. And so at that time, I started treating people as part of my research program. So my first student came, and I didn't know what to do. It was not clear for me what to do with someone else because I knew what worked for me, but I needed to explore what to do with other people. So he was my first patient. And after that, I started receiving more and more people. And I started with hand dystonia. I practiced hand dystonia rehabilitation for more than 10 years, and then clients started coming with other conditions. And that was just opening the door to other people. And I started treating eyelids, I started treating tongue dystonias, leg dystonias, runners, swimmers. I started to treat all forms of dystonia until this point, and I have treated more than 2,000 people. After 20 years being asymptomatic, something happened. A tumor was discovered in my chest, so I needed to go for surgery, for thoracic surgery. The same day that I needed to have surgery, I had some patients scheduled for treatment. So I was treating a person affected by hand dystonia in the morning, and I was having open chest surgery in the evening. So this surgery was quite aggressive and finally ended up producing a lung collapse. And when I woke up, I found out that my left arm was completely paralyzed, and it was difficult for me to breathe. Once that I was able to treat and my lung collapse was in remission, I needed to deal again with intense crises that were affecting my diaphragm that was having spasms, and my rib cage was completely tense. So it was difficult for me to breathe for more than 6 months. It was difficult for me even to sleep because I was afraid of not being able to sleep and breathe at the same time. So I needed to re-educate myself to breathe in a normal manner, and it was quite intensive rehabilitation. I needed to put into action everything that I have learned with patients before, but at that time I found it extremely difficult because I needed to create new tools in order to deal with something bigger that I never experienced. I was able to rehabilitate the movement of my shoulder. Now my shoulder is fine, I can move it. At that time I was not even able to do a flexion of my elbow, was not able to move my shoulder in any way. Now my shoulder moves perfectly fine. I feel it fine. I can breathe. I have some issues. Sometimes I have some spasms in the diaphragm, but nothing major. I have some crises sometimes that are tough, but the frequency is very, very low. So I may have a crisis every 3-4 months. Now I'm having some symptoms in the eyelids. So you will see in these videos that sometimes my left eyelid closes when I'm tired or when I'm stressed. So it's extremely important for me to share all this information that I got and to share the message that people are affected by dystonia can become asymptomatic if they have the proper education and the proper training. This has been my aim since I created the Dystonia Project 20 years ago, is to spread the word and to help patients to see the light at the end of the tunnel, because there is the light. It's difficult, it's very, very tough. I would love for this to be easy, but it's not easy. But there is a way, and I would like to share the way. So that's why we have created this platform in order to make the training available worldwide to people that wherever they are, they can have access to this body of knowledge that helped me so much. Welcome to my dystonia recovery program. I hope you benefit as much as I did from it.